Good morning.
Good morning.
My gosh, it's so lovely to see you. I'm sitting here getting ready to open the service, and I'm listening to the beautiful, never to be taken for granted again, buzz of voices in the meeting house as we come together for this hour. And I'm noticing that I can hear individuals and I can recognize you from your voices, and I can hear little snippets of your conversation. You should probably know that in case, just in case. I can tell who you are and I can tell what you're saying. Not all the time, but sometimes. And it's just so lovely. It's like this tapestry getting rethreaded and rewoven back together, just in sound, just sitting there listening to you. How wonderful to be able to welcome you back to our first in-person service with our choir singing for us inside the meeting house in so long. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Providence, where we love beyond belief. This is the day we have been given. May we make the most of it, starting now, together. people draw strength to renew their dream again and again. Give people a foretaste of their dream, of fulfillment, and they will never give it up. The Shabbat is that taste. Set up a rhythm of perfection, plunge into this world as a participant. Then, just when there may be a danger of complete absorption into this world, there is an alternate reality to enter, the Shabbat. On Shabbat, there is neither anxiety nor bad news. Since such a world does not exist in space, it is created in time. The Shabbat comes to an end, but it creates an appetite and a satisfaction that lasts until it is renewed again. The power of this rhythm of redemption is that it allows the fullest participation in the world as it is, while giving recurrent fulfillment to the ultimate dreams of perfection. The Shabbat experience nurtures that special kind of love called chesed. Chesed embraces the world, even in its grimmest reality. Because love accepts life totally, love is not discouraged by its flaws. Simultaneously, chesed sets in motion life's capacity to be more perfect. The world was meant to be perfect, says Shabbat. Experience your own version of perfection. Now, go and make it happen.
And now those of you at home can get your candles and matches ready, and Betty is going to light our chalice. Please do say the words.
This light burns also in our hearts, and it lights our path towards harmony, justice, and hope for all.
And we have our time of greeting. So many of us in the meeting house, above and below, so many of us at home. So let's take a moment, stand as we are able, or turn around in our pews and wave to each other, wave to those of us who are near. Hi, Roberto, and far, way over in the furthest corner, Richard Buber's way, way, way across. Hi, choir. So good to see everybody. Blow kisses to the people you love or the stranger you wish to startle. And then let's all turn and wave at everybody at home. They're pointing to the camera so we know which one to look at. Hi, everybody. We miss you. We always miss you. We're glad you're with us this way. And we had such a strong reaction a month or two ago when we had the service about the history of the church according to the covenants, and we read it together and really thought about what we were saying and thought about the commitment, the promise, the vow we make in that covenant. I got more response from members of the congregation than ever to any other service in this church about how powerful that felt and how much you wanted to be reminded of and leaning into the covenant more often. So we're doing that, and we're starting it this month. We are now going to share our covenant every week and take that time to lean into the mindfulness and the power of the commitment we make to each other. It is there in your order of service. Can we join in the words of our commitment, our covenant with each other? We, the members of the First Unitarian Church in Providence, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at why we know our names, and with gratitude for our deep connection to each other and to the larger web of existence, covenant to walk together in our search for truth, seeking the paths of wisdom, compassion, and justice.
And now we will share our joys and sorrows which you in person can write in the book and you at home can email in anytime. We're going to begin with 3 candles of joy and gratitude, and these are a candle of great joy that our choir joins us again after a long hiatus. And a candle of gratitude and great joy that our little ones, that our Sunday school is back to in-person meetings. It was great to see all their faces this morning. And a candle of gratitude to Reverends Liz and Roger, Kathy, Jen, and Jeff for the wonderful care packet we received in the mail. There we go. Today is also a very happy birthday day for Nori Duncan. Says so. It's not. Oh, well, there we go. It's either not true or she's not admitting, but we'll have a happy day anyway. There we go. And then a candle of healing for Maureen Johansson, who's recovering at home after an appendectomy. A candle of healing for John Bracchia, who is at Miriam Hospital with Dolores right now, investigating heart pain. A candle of healing for Sonia Gray, who is doing well with her new pacemaker. Candle of hope for Suzanne Craig's friend Christine, who is dealing with cancer. And a candle of relief for her friend Deanne, who is dealing with severe pain from osteoporosis. And a candle of strength for her sister Debbie Craig as she cares for her husband. A candle of sadness and peace for Sarah Sims at age 41, who passed away on February 18th after a long illness. Rest now, eternal, beautiful soul, and may your friends and family find comfort in their memories of you. Want to bring you into the space of meditation and prayer. So I invite you to relax. Let your bodies relax. Feel yourself in the space you're in. Feel your breath. Come into the present moment. Please take a deep breath with me. And again. And one more. In the rhythm of breath, I offer a meditation from Thich Nhat Hanh, now of blessed memory. When you look deeply at an orange, you realize that an orange, or any fruit, is nothing less than a miracle. Take an orange and hold it in your palm. Breathe in and out slowly, and look at it as if you were seeing it for the first time. When you look at it deeply, you'll be able to see many wonderful things. The sun shining and the rain falling on the orange tree, the orange blossoms, the tiny fruit appearing on the buds, the branches, the color of the fruit changing from green to yellow and then full-grown orange. Now slowly begin to peel it. Smell the wonderful scent of the orange peel. Break off a section of that orange, put it into your mouth. Taste its wonderful juice. The orange tree has taken 3, 4, or 6 months to make this orange for you. It is a miracle. Now the orange is ready, and it says, I am here for you. But if you are not present, you will not hear it. When you are not looking at the orange in the present moment, then the orange is not present either. Amen.
Good morning. Please join me with the responsive reading. It's in your order of service. Technical civilization is humankind's conquest of space. It is a triumph frequently achieved by sacrificing an essential ingredient of existence, namely time. In technical civilization, we expend time to gain space.
The more we think, the more we realize we cannot conquer time through space. We can only master time in time.
The higher goal of spiritual living is not to amass a wealth of information, but to face sacred moments.
Our intention here is not to deprecate the world of space. Time and space are interrelated. To overlook either of them is to be partial.
There are no 2 hours alike. Each hour is unique, and the only one given at the moment, exclusive and endlessly precious.
What is so luminous about day? It is because the seventh day is a moment where Spirit's precious will can be found, with which to construct a palace in time.
Holiness in time teaches us to consecrate sanctuaries from the magnificent stream of a year. Sabbaths are our great cathedrals.
6 days a week, we wrestle with the world. On the Sabbath, we care for the seed of eternity planted in the soul.
It is not a date, but an atmosphere. It is not a different state of consciousness, but a different climate.
It is a day that ennobles the soul and makes the body wise.
What is the Sabbath? Spirit in the form of time.
The Sabbath is a day for the sake of God. Supposedly, sleep is a mitzvah, a good deed, when one is celebrating the Sabbath. But there's also something to be said for the Sabbath offering us a different way to be awake at the same time. It is so human. It has always been so human to get tired and need rest, and time outside of time, time that has been designated, among other things, as Sabbath, or in the original Hebrew, Shabbat. Sabbath, Shabbat. Obviously, the H got confused and moved around somewhere. Don't ask me how. Dyslexia has had an impact even in foundational theological terminology, as we can all see. Shabbat in Hebrew means a ceasing. And that is what Shabbat, Sabbath, has always been, a stopping of one way that makes room for another way. Some of our religious professionals here at First U have taken sabbaticals in recent years, but I am going to start a sabbatical in July, and it will be the first time that a minister has taken one here in roughly 30 years. So this is significant, and it warrants our consideration and understanding. The idea of Sabbath or Shabbat comes, of course, from the Jewish text of Genesis, and the account there of the day of rest that God takes after 6 days of extremely fulfilling but also very exhausting creation. And it doesn't say anything about how that very first Sabbath went. It doesn't say God went bowling or took a nap or got out a favorite book. It just says God rested from all the work of creation. From the beginning, Western theology has always seen the relationship between humanity and sacredness as one that includes our own mortal need for rest that creates renewal. Faithful observance requires a day of rest, not just rest, a day to focus on the divine, on spirit, rather than tasks and work every week. The next mention of this imperative comes in Exodus chapter 34, verse 21, when it is delivered as one of the 10 commandments. 6 days thou shalt labor, but on the 7th day thou shalt rest. Even in plowing time and in harvest thou shalt rest. We suburban or urban moderns who mostly don't live on farms might lose sight of just how astonishing that added line at the end is. But especially at harvest time, farmers cannot slack off. You have got to get your crops in when they're ready, before they are ruined by rain or drought or locusts or rot. Any of the countless challenges that come with agrarian life, it's usually an intensely focused time of endless labor. Sometimes every day, every hour matters. So think about that, and then consider the commandment's conclusion. Even in plowing time and in harvest, thou shalt rest. Even, especially when there is the most to deal with, you must take this time. One of the most revolutionary things about early Jewish theology, and there are actually a few, but one that we are considering this morning, is the idea of rest and renewal as a sacred charge, as essential in a divine cycle of life and creation that is not just for the divine, but also for humanity. In fact, understood as essential for humanity's participation in the sacred. All humanity, not just Jews, all people, Jewish, pagan, native, foreign, whether free or indentured or enslaved. This is all explicitly laid out in the next book in the Bible, Leviticus, chapter 25, verses 6 to 7. It actually says all that. Everybody, and it details what that means. The Sabbath's significance basically gets developed a little further by each book in the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and then it goes on, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And in Leviticus, it spells out that everyone must rest, and not just all people, but all creatures, even livestock and farm animals and wild animals dwelling on your land, and the land itself. The land itself must rest. Everyone, everything gets sacred rest and renewal. Think about that. That is revolutionary. Rest for every living thing, for the very ground of creation itself. Literally, there has never been anything like it, not before, and sadly, not since. When we talk of the web of all creation and our place in it, that's the web. So what did it actually mean to hold the Sabbath? One of the early descriptions is in Isaiah chapter 58, verse 13 to 14. I always think it's good to offer the citation, but it's not like you're writing them down. If you need them, I can tell you again later. If you refrain from trampling the Sabbath, from pursuing your own interests on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight and the holy day of the Lord, honor it. If you honor it, go not your own ways, serving your own interests, pursuing your own affairs. You shall take delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride upon the heights of the earth. So that's how it was understood way, way back in one particular context. If we fast forward to now, there are new definitions, including how a minister's sabbatical is defined and understood. There's a church consulting company called Leaders That Last, and their definition is that a sabbatical is not a vacation. Rather, it is a time for intentional renewal and personal revitalization. That doesn't mean the minister cannot have fun on his/her sabbatical. Relaxation, recreation, hobbies can be part of a sabbatical experience, but they're not the primary focus. A sabbatical allows the minister time to recharge hope and vision. It is a time to be nurtured in faith, rekindled in passion, refocused in priorities, and recaptured by the vision and heart of God. It's obviously a Christian consulting company, but I always think we're able to translate one context into our own language and understandings in Unitarian Universalism. And I don't really think there's that much in that paragraph that requires translation, but there is some. I believe in sabbaticals. I believe in them, in fact, in the spirit of Genesis, that the Sabbath was part of a commitment between people and the sacred, essential to the relationship of people and the sacred. Instead of bringing offerings, people offer time. I think the Hebrew Bible is deeply wise and right in prescribing Sabbath for all. Time apart for being, for reflecting and reconnecting to what the Bible calls God, but we more generally call the sacred, the divine, the ultimate, the source of all. When I go on my sabbatical, and there's information about it, well, we sent you out a mailing. There's also a new, postable on your fridge version that's in your order of service. When I go on my sabbatical, I will enter a time of stopping, of resting, of reflecting, of renewing, not just myself, but my connection to what fuels my soul and my vocation. It's impossible, when you think about it, to stop anything without starting something else. It is the very nature of action. Anytime we stop one thing, another thing begins. I will stop living according to my usual rhythms and spaces and responsibilities and start for a while to live in Sabbath, in a time outside of time according to different rhythms and spaces. I will spend most of my time in the place I find most inspiring and renewing, which is the Central Highlands of Scotland. With my dogs and my husband, I will be on my own, though, a lot, exploring and experiencing more about life and creatures and people there, and I will learn small and large things while I'm there. I will refocus my energies on writing reflections and meditations, things like the piece about the cricket that we sent out in our mailing, in our care package to you a couple of weeks ago. Those are important touchstones for my theology and ministry, but there isn't much time for the spacious time they require in the usual press of parish ministry. And I will also embark on a book I have always wanted to write, reflecting on my time in Greece back when I was a young woman seeking her path in life and finally hearing there the call to ministry. I have two possible titles for it. And one of them is called Salt and Honey, which is really nice and very evocative. The other one that would probably sell more copies if it ever comes to be published is Called Girl. Yeah, the title sells itself, right? I'm copywriting that title since this is going out on the internet, it's copyrighted. Between you and me, my dream would be that I have enough for a book when I come back, and it may or may not work out that way. Ministers' sabbaticals are not the same as academic sabbaticals, just as ministers' work and settings and schedules are not the same as academics. Allow me to quote again from Leaders That Last. Don't plan on doing much on your sabbatical. A common mistake of most ministers is to try and schedule every minute of the Sabbath time, thus continuing the fast pace and performance orientation. In the quiet and lack of busyness will come the needed introspection, reflection, and connection with God. This is a time to allow the Spirit's work to bring forth the deeper, unbidden, and unconscious. But we don't need to only look to Leaders That Last for wisdom. It's also right in our own gray hymnal. If we could sing hymns already, I would have asked for hymn number 204, Come, O Sabbath Day. Each verse ends repeating as both a promise and a command, Thou shalt rest, thou shalt rest. I will bear that in mind, and I will make sure that I don't fail to leave room for the riches that come from time that is more about reflection than requirements. Although Rabbi Heschel, in his brilliant book, The Sabbath, which is what we had our responsive reading from this morning, in that book, he draws these distinctions between space and time. In my own experience, there's a relationship between them when it comes to Sabbath, to setting time apart, especially now when our devices are always with us and our life is with us as never before. So I believe that being out of context, literally physically out of context, away from what and who I already know, helps me learn more about what matters, about the world around me, about people apart from me, and eventually, paradoxically, about myself. It opens me up. I have one sabbatical in the course of my ministry that I spent at home, and at the end of it, I realized, I spent my sabbatical being a housewife, which is not spiritually renewing. But that's what it meant for me to be at home. There were always tasks to do and things to take care of, and it was impossible to separate myself from the day-to-day that is my life. Maybe for all of us to some degree, who we are, each of us depends on where we are and who we are with. Many of the ways we are, and sometimes even many of the ways we evolve over time, follow patterns. And they may be unsurprising in our usual circumstances, but take us out of predictable circumstance, and then who are we? What are we like when we're alone or surrounded by what we don't already know and understand? Do we have good judgment? Can we manage our mistakes? Might we find we like things we wouldn't expect to like? Might we have experiences that strengthen us or deepen us or open our eyes? Might we finally find answers that we have long been seeking? Sabbatical time outside of time helps me return strengthened and clarified for the life of ministry. And I don't want to ignore this, it also gives me a chance to live a little more lightly, which is part of the renewal. Rabbi Heschel, in his book, says, the Sabbath is no time for personal anxiety or care, remember? For any activity that might dampen the spirit of joy. The Sabbath is not time to remember sins, to confess, to repent, even to pray for relief or anything we might need. It is a day for praise, not for petitions. The Sabbath is a day of harmony and peace. Peace between human beings, peace within a person, peace with all things. On the seventh day, one is not to tamper with the world or even change the physical state of things. Or to use a very different but also biblical citation, one that frankly I have always found annoying, the story of Mary and Martha. I can see some of you know exactly where I'm going to go with this, and some of you are like, So, Mary and Martha, they are two sisters. They are siblings of the famous Lazarus, who Jesus raised from the dead in the gospel accounts. All three together were good friends of Jesus, and one day Jesus came and spent a day teaching many followers in their house, and long story short, Mary hung out with the followers. She sat at Jesus' feet and drank in his lessons, and meanwhile, Martha was knocking herself out, running around, getting the many, many guests everything they needed. All day long, we can readily imagine this, right? The outhouse, you'll find it right over there. Water and wine, coming right up. Everyone, here's a snack of some lovely figs while we're getting lunch ready. Oh, you're allergic to figs? I will get you some dates. Overwhelmed by the heat? Come lie down over here on this pallet and I'll get you a cool cloth for your refreshment. Yes, lunch is almost ready. I'm just finishing it now, and then I'll set the table and then call you all in to eat. Right, this is her day. And after a while, Martha was fed up and asked Jesus to ask Mary to help deal with all this work. And Jesus instead told Martha that Mary was making the right choice and he wouldn't change it at all. Anyone who has ever been a church volunteer knows that even the best, most inspiring experience does not happen without a lot of effort, without a lot of Martha going on behind the scenes. So it's all very well for Jesus to privilege Mary and her focus on what matters most, but in the world it is not all Sabbath all the time, and we each of us have to carry our share of the load in order to reach those moments when we get our turn to lay down the work and attend to our own nurture, our own Sabbath or sabbatical, time to get our Mary on and give Martha a rest. Or, in the words of the wonderful Buddhist monk and peace activist Thich Nhat Hanh, we just lost him on January 22nd. You heard in our meditation, when you eat an orange, eat an orange. Sabbatical will be time for me to lean into all those metaphors, to eat oranges, to hear voices other than mine and yours, to pursue encounters that keep me grounded and religious and faithful, to build my cathedral in time, to get my Mary on, to reflect and write, to lean into joy and peace. All of this is what enables me, as I finish my 27th year in ministry, to keep on and to keep trying to be the best minister I can try to be. I take care of myself so I can keep taking care of the church. I'm drawing on the work of two rabbis this morning. The opening reading was from Rabbi Greenberg, who's another touchstone for me, and he sums up Shabbat in that chapter I mentioned earlier. He says, Shabbat always begins with the affirmation of human work and the holiness of creativity, the holiest and most powerful work of all. Shabbat offers a rhythm of work and abstinence, an alternation, I love this, of creatorhood and creaturehood. Spend the entire Shabbat on being, not doing. It is a proclamation, I am, not I do. Shabbat teaches us that change is completed by peace, and action is enriched by contemplation. So, if someone asks you what I'm doing on sabbatical, all this is probably not what you will tell them. But I hope it's what you remember, because it is the most fundamentally true answer. There is one other aspect of both Sabbath and sabbatical that I have to mention, and our Sunday services are meant to be the way we invoke Sabbath together. Sacred time that we set apart for engagement with the Most High, at least an hour, but what could be a whole dedicated, sacred, restorative day every week, a day that begins here with each other, with reflection and sources for inspiration that we may lean into as richly as we wish. It's worth imagining for all of us what more could come of this time together if we want it. Perhaps some of our musical folks could get a group together and jam after church each week, sharing songs inspired by the worship theme, or collaborate together writing songs, or a hymn, or more than one song or hymn. Maybe some of our visual artists could reach out to each other and create a show or a video. Maybe some of our chalice and soul circles would want to talk about a worship theme and look at what they can create out of their experiences together. Maybe a ritual to help ground us as we move through our days. There are so many seeds sown among us all the time. By all of us, by each of you, as well as me and everyone else on our worship team. Sabbath is a time to unclench and breathe and reflect and see where that all could lead to what comes of our creaturehood and our celebrations of self and perception that is life-giving, soul-sustaining, available to all of us. This capable, marvelous, multifaceted church has done so much to develop itself and its strengths in recent years. We have devoted and accomplished lay leaders and experienced, talented staff. In your order of service, if you check out the awesome lineup of preachers that's coming to speak while I'm away, plus we're going to have Reverend Roger, our own, preaching once a month, much more often, and helping to lead the multi-generational services. There is such a rich and rewarding time here that is going to unfold. And we are coming through this pandemic. We are moving into a time when COVID will not be gone, but it will not be as determinative as it has been. As treatments continue to improve, as our populations gain immunity, as we learn to manage it and then live with it, and finally, eventually beyond it. We have learned so much, and we have gained so many strengths in making our way through these last couple of years. We are acting in this time with faithfulness and creativity and resilience. Maybe the sabbatical can be a time for all of us to lean into those strengths. After all the pivoting and adapting and learning and growing and changing, maybe we could simply enjoy being this church, living into all that we have worked to put in place and make possible together. Just be first you. It's sort of a theological pun, but really it isn't a joke. I mean it when I propose that we could be together, even when we're apart. Shabbat and sabbaticals honor the eternal human truth that our living and souls depend on a cycle, a rhythm that is tidal, respiratory, ebb and flow, inhale, exhale, work, rest, speak, listen. I love this church, all of you, and all of you a lot. I will miss you while I'm away. I am profoundly grateful for this Sabbath, which I need and which I will treasure. Thank you. Thank you for my sabbatical. We have many months, though, yet together. May they be rich and fruitful. And so may the sabbatical time be restful and fruitful. And may we all know respite and make space in time for the sacred. Shabbat Shalom. Amen. I was trying to think of a song we could hear that would really lift up the spirit of Sabbath, and I thought, Blue Boat Home, right? Leaning over the edge in wonder, staring into the starry sea. So much of the spirit of that most beloved song of ours lifts up that same spirit of renewal and wonder and restoration that comes with Sabbath. So this is our offertory song that we're sharing. We can't sing it yet together, but you can totally hum it, and you can move to it. May we all be moved. May we all be moved by so much that happens here, and may we all be moved to give as generously as we can for the life and the work of this beloved community that is coming back together from strength to strength. Thank you so much for all that you give and all that you do and all that you are. We have 3 invitations for you among the many, many ways we have available to us to practice our faith. The first is today at both the Connect and Reflect gathering that we have available over in the parish house for people who want to get together in person and talk about the themes of the service afterwards, and in the Zoom coffee hour for everybody who's watching from home. Members of the sabbatical committee, which has been helping to form the plans and understandings and very much creating the materials you guys are all receiving, will be present in case anybody has any questions. They don't have a presentation to make. They're just available in case there are any questions in those conversations about how sabbaticals work or what first use plans are for coverage and so forth. Secondly, we know, hopefully, that not only do we have our choir singing back with us in person for the first time, but our Spiritual Pathways team is back in person with chapel and small groups gathering over in the parish house. Yay! All our children and youth are back in our spaces, also for the first time, and it seems like forever. There are offerings for young people, ages 5 through senior high. They run from 10:30 to 11:30. Anybody who wants to learn more about that can go talk to Kathy Sagel, our Director of Religious Education, after worship, and she's got all the information that anybody could wish for. And lastly, after a bunch of deliberations about how to make it possible, this is so exciting. I love seeing our First U leaning into our commitments that come with our work with Mosaic, that come with our declaration that Black Lives Matter, that come with all the ways we're beginning to lean further and further into this journey we're on together. It's very exciting to announce that we are going to be hosting the Morehouse College Glee Club performing here on Wednesday, March 9th at 7 o'clock. So I know, how cool is that? How wonderfully cool is that? Masks are going to be required. The audience needs to be vaccinated. The choir, when they're singing, will be masked, and they will be receiving a free will offering at that concert. But I hope everybody can mark their calendars and come. It's going to be a really, really special night. So let's not miss it. And of course, always read your First U Times. We send it every Friday afternoon. It has always important information you need about upcoming events and news. I feel like I didn't give that last part my all. Read the First U Times. It has so much important information in it. It always has important information in it. We don't send it if we have nothing to say and if there's nothing for you to know. So make sure you glance at it and then pay attention to the pieces that really land for you. Our closing words are from the writings of the poet Anne Sexton. There is joy in all. In the hair I brush each morning, in the cannon towel newly washed that I rub my body with each morning, in the chapel of eggs I cook each morning, in the outcry from the kettle that heats my coffee each morning, in the spoon and the chair that cry, "Hello there, Anne," each morning, in the Godhead of the table that I set my silver plate cup upon each morning. All this is God, right here in my pea green house each morning, and I mean, though often forget, to give thanks, to faint down by the kitchen table in a prayer of rejoicing as the holy birds at the kitchen window peck into their marriage of seeds. So while I think of it, let me paint a thank you on my palm for this God, this laughter of the morning, lest it go unspoken. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young. Can we join in the words for our chalice extinguishing? They are printed in your order of service.
We carry
the flame of peace and love and hope until we meet again.